Welcome to the She's Just Not That Into You podcast, where we're redefining female experiences and prioritizing female perspectives. I'm Brianne.
And I'm Jiyun. We are two friends with global background, sharing our multicultural experiences and discussing everything that sparks our passion.
Every week, we have honest, intimate conversations that we hope will inspire and empower not only each other, but women everywhere. Okay, so today we're talking about the 10 non-negotiables that we think that we should have as heterosexual women when having sex with men. You know, as women, we risk a lot of things when having sex with someone, for example, pregnancy, and women tend to be more vulnerable to catching STDs, and the effects tend to be more serious for us. So because of things like that, it's really important for us to have high standards and high expectations for what we deserve from sex to make it worth it.
Right.
And yeah, I think as women, we should have higher standards for sex than men do, because obviously men don't have to risk pregnancy. And, you know, like I said, they're less likely to catch STDs from penetration. And if they do catch an STD, the effects are not as serious for them. So, yeah. And the other reason is that, you know, as women, not only do we risk a lot of things, but we generally also find it harder to take pleasure from sex, either physically or emotionally, compared to men. Yeah, so because of this, we think it's good to set a standard for yourself in terms of what you expect from sex or what you think you deserve from sex, so that you don't have to waste your time with anyone who doesn't meet this criteria.
Right.
And some of the points we came up with, obviously, you won't be able to know about someone until you try having sex with them at least one time. But it's still kind of good to bear in mind that it's something important to you, so that you know that you should either address the issue with them and see if they can change things, or you can walk away from the relationship if it's not serving you. And yeah, these are just like our personal ones that we both came up with and compiled ourselves. So feel free to, you know, make your own list and just, yeah, think of things that are appropriate and relevant for you and what you want to get out of any kind of sexual relationship. But yeah, we just wanted to share what ours were, so that people might feel inspired to start thinking about what they want, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a lot of women end up having sex without really having any standards, and that's a huge problem. So we thought this was something that we really needed to talk about. And what we don't have any standards is so easy to find ourselves in situations where we're actually compromising our safety and our emotional
Well-being.
well-being. And without those boundaries, we might end up with partners who really unworth our time and energy. And it's important to point out that having these standards isn't really about being overly selective or demanding. It's really about understanding what we want and what we need to do to feel safe, respected, and satisfied. It's about self respect and making sure we are having a fun and safe experience. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also good for men to listen to this list as well, because, you know, a lot of the times people say that men don't really think of sex as something emotional, or like men don't fall in love with someone just because they had sex with them, whereas a lot of the times women tend to become emotionally attached when having sex. But because of that, I think, you know, you could see it from the other side, which is that men don't fall in love because of sex, whereas women do fall in love because of sex. So a lot of the times, I think men, when they're in a situation where they want a woman to fall in love with them, they don't realize how important sex is to women. And then that could maybe contribute to why they get broken up with or something, because they maybe like the way they're having sex with their partner isn't satisfying for her, and that kind of contributes to her wanting to leave the relationship or
Right.
things fizzling out between them. So yeah, I think it's helpful for men also to think about the way women approach sex as well.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, most of the time, actually almost every time, guys have zero idea why they are being broken up with, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, it's about sex, which actually shows they have no clue what sex really means to us. Like for us, it's not just about pleasure, it can mean risking pregnancy, which comes with a lot of stress, and it can mean so much more emotionally and mentally. So, man, if you're listening, please take notes of what we are saying and keep our list in mind so that your partner gets what she truly deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like sex is really the most important part of a romantic relationship because, like without
Mm,
sex, you're just friends, right? So sex is really what makes it a romantic relationship rather than just a friendship.
yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so should we get into it? Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Non negotiable number one.
Yes. So our non-negotiable number one, make it safe in every possible way. We cannot emphasize this enough. Safety is the first and probably the one and only non-negotiable if there has to be just one. Contraception is a must. And by contraception, we are talking about condoms,
Yeah.
not birth control pills for women. Because birth control pills, as we all know, have a lot of side effects, from mood swings to serious health risks. So, relying solely on women for birth control is really unfair. And I think it's an outdated idea and it's just wrong. So, using condoms is absolutely a must. Not only are they one of the most effective ways to prevent pregnancy, but they are also the simplest and easiest way to protect against STDs.
Yeah, definitely.
So if a guy says no to wearing a condom, just don't do it. Girls, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Ladies, don't do it without condoms. Unless you are completely prepared to take full responsibility for the consequences and you're sure you are not going to regret it, don't do it. Don't do it without condoms.
And yeah, I mean, you also want someone who is going to be responsible, right? So
Right.
either responsible about preventing pregnancy or also responsible about preventing, infecting their partner with STDs.
Right. And from my experience and from what I heard from my friends, I think it's pretty hard to find a guy who initiates wearing condoms on his own without being asked.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of the time guys will just try to go for it without wearing one if the woman doesn't say anything about it. I'm like 99% sure most guys would just go for it without a condom if we don't say anything about it. Like, do I think the guy's gonna stop and be like, oh no, I really need to wear a condom because I'm worried about you getting pregnant or whatever. No, if I say I'm okay without it, they are not going to argue at all.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think it should be one of our non negotiables that they need to take responsibility for their behavior and
Right.
understand the importance of wearing condoms, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, speaking of STDs, I think it's also important to find someone who you can feel comfortable asking them if they did an STD test. And you also need to be able to trust that they're not going to lie to you about it.
Yeah, so true. I'm glad that you brought it up here actually, because safety is not just about contraception. I think it's about trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, can you openly ask them about their sexual health history, or like, do we feel confident that they are telling us the truth? So, I think this level of transparency is really important because sex should never really feel like a gamble with your health.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Mm.
really not worth it. And Also, I think you shouldn't do it with someone who makes you feel bad for asking if they have STDs or asking them to do an STD test. Because if they make you feel bad about asking about it, then it's probably better to just not have sex with them because, especially as I said before, STDs are most often spread from men to women rather than the other way around.
Right.
And I guess for any listeners who don't know why this is, the reason for this is because STDs are most often spread by the penetrating partner. So if you're a heterosexual woman having sex with a heterosexual man, you're the one who's most likely to catch STDs from him.
So unfair.
Yeah. And I guess also, it's also important to use condoms not just to protect against serious STDs, but also infections like UTIs and thrush and other vaginal infections that women can easily get from sex. Using condoms is a good way to protect against this as well.
Absolutely.
Also, I think it's a little problematic that in sex education class at school, we learned how to put a condom on a banana, but we never learned that, as you said, a lot of guys refuse to use condoms, and we never learned about what to say or what to do if you find yourself in a situation where you're about to have sex with a guy who's refusing to use a condom, right?
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of women are socially conditioned to let it slide when a guy says he doesn't want to use a condom. But I feel like we should never think that this is okay because it's such a huge health risk
Right.
and it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're going to get on to later on in the episode, we think that sex should be something fun and like a good way to connect with someone emotionally and everything like that. And we don't want to think of sex as something dangerous and risky, but it's kind of hard for us as women to get to the point of feeling like it's something fun if we're worried about pregnancy and STDs and stuff, right?
Right.
So this is like, our minimum baseline for what we
Really bare
need.
minimum.
Yeah. Okay, so this was our number one, which was to prioritize safety in every way. What's our number two?
Yeah, our number two is choose someone you're truly attracted to. I feel like this is also a bare minimum when deciding who to have sex with. I think attraction is way more complex than just physical appearance, you know? It's more about feeling emotionally or maybe even intellectually connected.
Yeah, and someone who you feel like would be able to make you feel aroused or like create like a nice mood or a nice environment, a nice atmosphere.
Yeah, so true. Definitely. Yeah. And if you have to close your eyes and imagine being with someone else while you're doing it, then it's just not worth it, right?
Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, don't just sleep with just anyone that you come across in your life. And you also need to prioritize whether you're attracted to them, not just that they're attracted to you. Because I feel like a lot of times as women, we end up giving people a chance just because they're attracted to us.
Yeah. Just don't sleep with someone just because they are there. And it's not really worth that. A lot of the times, settling for someone like that, someone that we are not genuinely attracted to, that can actually make us feel really empty and lonely at the end of the day. So we should just not confuse convenience with attraction.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
And I think it's also non negotiable that you obviously should only have sex with someone who's really attracted to you as well and
Mm-hmm.
who is really keen to have sex with you. Like, you shouldn't do it with someone who isn't really keen to do it with you and who's showing you that with their actions and their words. Right.
Right.
And, they should also be interested in you as a person, not just for sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so our non negotiable number three is to never do it for the wrong reasons.
Oh my God, this is so important. I think a lot of women use sex as a way to seek validation or solve some of their emotional issues, but we always need to keep in mind that sex is not going to solve our problems.
Yeah.
It's not going to solve our toxic relationships. It's not going to solve our self esteem issues. It's not going to solve our loneliness issues. It can actually make everything worse, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If you have sex with someone one time and then you feel bad about yourself afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
either because of the lack of connection or because you didn't really think that they were the right person for you, you didn't think it was like a good match, then, it's something to bear in mind that it's really important to prioritize how you feel afterwards. So you probably
Yeah.
shouldn't go back and try again, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like a lot of the times people kind of find themselves having sex multiple times with someone who they know they don't really feel that great about,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe sometimes people don't really pay enough attention to how they feel afterwards and prioritize that.
Right.
Or, yeah, you just need to spend some time looking into yourself and seeing why you want to continue having sex with someone who doesn't make you feel that great about yourself.
Yeah. We just shouldn't have sex just because we are lonely or bored or for convenience. I mean, guys can do that because for them, there's nothing they need to risk, right? But
Yeah.
there's so much more to consider for us. Like, just there's so much more we risk. But a lot of women end up going back to toxic relationships with their ex boyfriends or getting into these friends with benefits
Yeah.
situations with them,
Oh my God.
even though they know the relationship was toxic. That's where a whole disaster kind of starts, right?
Yeah, I also don't believe in this term friends with benefits anyway. I mean, like, who's getting the benefits? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Who the fuck is getting the benefits out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we can get that instant sexual pleasure in the moment, but it's gonna leave us feeling really disconnected and lonely and used, right? And most of the times, like guys who go back to that toxic relationship with their ex girlfriends, they're just keeping you as a placeholder
Yeah.
until they find someone else. Yeah, there's no benefit.
There's no benefits, and like they're also not even a friend, because if you're friends with someone, then you want to do what's best for them, right? And you
Yeah.
like consider their feelings and stuff. So friends with benefits is like you're not a friend and you're not getting any benefits from it. So like what?
Yeah. Oh my God. We need to call this something else, like something like, I don't know, stress dribble or something like that.
Yeah.
Am I?
We should do a separate episode about friends with benefits.
Oh yeah, we should definitely do it.
And you should also never have sex with someone because you feel pressured to do it, because you feel like you owe them something for buying you dinner or for buying you drinks or something, right?
Right.
Like, you have no obligation to have sex with someone for that kind of reason. Just because someone buys you a cup of peppermint tea and a blueberry muffin doesn't mean you have to pay them back by giving them a
Oh my
blowjob.
God.
No, but I feel like a lot of times, like, women are socially conditioned to feel like they owe men something for paying
So
their
shocking.
for their drink or something, you know?
Oh my God, yeah. Wow. Okay, our number four non-negotiable is do it with someone you feel truly comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, if you're not really feeling comfortable, like completely comfortable with someone, it's really hard to fully enjoy or be present in the moment when we have sex.
Yeah.
So, by feeling comfortable, it really means knowing that we should be able to say no at any time without feeling guilty or pressured.
Yeah.
This includes like stopping midway if something doesn't feel right for you, or if you simply change your mind, you should be able to say no to the person that you're having sex with.
Yeah. Definitely.
But a lot of the times, I feel like there's a sense that it's kind of hard for us to stop midway, right? We just feel some sort of pressure,
Yeah.
especially when guys like haven't orgasmed yet. There's this pressure that women need to make sure that their partner's orgasm.
I mean, I feel like a guy wouldn't consider it as stopping midway if they've already orgasmed, right?
Right. Yeah, that's so true. It just feels like women just automatically have this pressure, like sex has to end only when the guy orgasms, you know?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be, right?
This shouldn't be, really.
The end should be like when you don't want to do it anymore.
Or maybe when everyone involved is satisfied, not just the guy, not just one person.
Yeah, definitely. During sex, if it's painful or if you don't like something or if you're not in the mood for it anymore, you should feel comfortable saying no and that you want to stop, right?
Right.
But it is quite hard to meet someone who you feel comfortable saying that kind of thing to.
It's really hard.
Yeah, related to that, I guess also it's important to find someone who you feel comfortable that you don't have to fake anything with.
So important. We should be able to tell them what we like or what we don't like without really thinking about if they're going to judge us or not.
Yeah, yeah. And also, yeah, should be someone who you feel comfortable giving honest feedback to if you didn't like it, right?
Yeah, I feel like we are so programmed to satisfy men, and a lot of the times we fake a lot of things because of that during sex, like orgasms, screams, and everything, sometimes just to really boost their ego.
If you look at the statistics for like how many women fake orgasms around the world, it's so crazy. I think it said that like American women fake orgasms a lot more than British women do.
Interesting. What do you think is that?
So maybe it's because Americans seem to be a bit more like out there. So maybe they're better at like acting and stuff.
Oh my god.
And British people tend to be a bit quieter and stuff. So maybe people are a bit embarrassed to fake an orgasm if they're British. I don't know.
Oh my god, so interesting. And it's also really important to find someone that you feel comfortable trying all different kinds of things.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like
Yeah,
someone who doesn't make you feel bad about wanting to try a different position, or
right.
is someone who isn't judgmental about you wanting to try something new.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I was telling you before that I feel like the only reason why, in our society, having sex in missionary position is seen as like the standard position is because it's like the most comfortable position for men.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
I just met so many men who say that missionary position is their favorite position. It just seems so convenient that that's like the position that is like, like when you like see people in movies having sex or just like, I don't know, in general, I feel like that's the position that you see most, right?
Yeah,
I feel like it's not a coincidence that men love it and it's seen everywhere, right?
it's literally seen everywhere.
And I actually even read articles saying that, for women, there are other positions that are better because of like the shape of our vagina and like what's most comfortable for like fitting the penis inside the shape of the vagina. And missionary position wasn't the best one, apparently. So,
Oh, then what is the best one?
yeah, I think it was just some kind of like variant of like doggy style. So, like,
Mm,
inserting the penis from behind, or also I think it said that like there are a lot of other positions that are better for women because like they can get stimulation on their clitoris as well, whereas
right.
missionary position doesn't really allow that. So
So true.
yeah, it's just I feel like it's just the most comfortable position for men. Like a lot of men say that they feel like it's the easiest one to orgasm or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know why it's called missionary? I think at some point you told me about that, but I forgot.
Yeah, it's like a religious thing. I think it was like Christian priests said that it's the position that they recommend for having sex because, like how like in like religious people might think that having sex is something sinful, right? So
Yeah.
if you're having sex for like reproductive purposes, then this is the position that's recommended apparently.
Oh my god.
So it's meant to be seen as like the least like dirty position, I guess,
Oh my god. Yeah.
But I feel like it's so convenient that it's also the one that men seem to enjoy the most.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, religion has always been really misogynistic and really sexist. So, yeah, totally not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of convenient that it's like the position where I guess, if you're thinking about reproduction, like it's the position for men to orgasm and then for a woman to be
hmm
like a child producing factory.
Right. So true.
It's so misogynistic.
So misogynistic.
Yeah, so find someone who you feel comfortable asking to try different positions, not someone who refuses to do nothing but missionary, which I've
Right.
heard apparently a lot of British men do.
Really?
I've had.
Wow.
That can be a topic for another episode, maybe.
Definitely, we should try that. Yeah.
Okay, so should we move on to number 5?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, our number 5 on our non negotiable is your pleasure should be your priority.
Yeah.
For way too long, our pleasure has been treated like it doesn't matter or it's not as important, but it totally does. If someone's only focused on their own satisfaction, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
They're not worth your time, I think. And a good partner should want to make sure you're enjoying yourself as well. And I think that means putting effort into things like foreplay, being open to your feedback, and actually caring enough to figure out what makes you feel good as well. I think it really is about them genuinely interested in making the experience enjoyable for you.
Yeah, you shouldn't give your body to someone to use for their pleasure without getting pleasure out of it yourself. And, I think a lot of the times, like, men also need to stop thinking about sex as a way to make themselves orgasm, and they need to spend more time thinking about how to make it comfortable and enjoyable for their partner as well, right?
Right.
And finding someone who you can be on the same page about that is important.
Yeah. And like women's pleasure isn't some sort of a bonus or extra credit, right? So many people treat it like it is. Like they think it's a nice little perk or something that is something good to have, or that is something that's better if it happens. But it's just the baseline, it's just the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's so crazy because I think also that like sex can be much more pleasurable for women than it is for men. Just from like personal experiences and like talking to people about it. I feel like, as we talked about in our masturbation episode, as women we can have unlimited numbers of orgasms, and I feel like female body is so much more like sensitive, and there's like different ways we can get pleasure compared to men, where I feel like there's just kind of like a set thing that they follow, and they kind of get pleasure in the same way, whereas as women we have much more diverse experiences and opportunities, right? And also, as women, for our male partner to have an orgasm during sex, we have to risk pregnancy and STDs and everything, but men don't have to risk anything for their female partner to orgasm. There's like no risk involved, and yet a lot of the times they don't care about it, right?
Yeah, it's just so insane.
I don't think it's that every man is like this. I mean, I've met people who are interested in women's pleasure, but I think it's just, generally as a society, I feel like we tend to deprioritize women's pleasure. As we talked about in our last episode about masturbation, we talked about how in sex ed at school, we don't really get taught about female pleasure. And, in like movies and popular culture and stuff, it's just not really as represented as male pleasure is. So yeah, it's just really important to bear in mind that it's something that should be prioritized.
Definitely.
And sex shouldn't be something that you have done to you. Like, we're not passive objects for men to use for their pleasure. And our pleasure is also important too. I mean, it's so crazy that there are some guys out there who expect women to do oral sex for them, but they don't want to do it for the woman because they find it disgusting or something. But
wow.
yeah, but it's also not just that women's pleasure often gets disregarded, but also even women's comfort as well. Like, I really want to say here that sex should never be something painful, but the statistics show that 75% of women experience pain during sex at some point in their lives, which, if you're a man, means that out of every 4 women you've slept with, 3 of them are in pain. Like, just statistically, which means that, like 3 out of 4 is quite a high number. It's like
it is a high number.
Yeah, it's just so crazy considering that sex is meant to be something enjoyable and pleasurable. And what's even more upsetting to think about is that most of the times when women experience pain during sex, they don't tell their male partners about it, because as women we're so socially conditioned to please men and not make a big fuss and cover up our problems. And it's so crazy that there are women who are in pain and not telling their partners about it, while men are complaining about condoms being uncomfortable.
Right.
uh, so crazy. And in terms of pleasure, I think it's also important to find someone who's down to learn what you like and don't like. and who is thoughtful and considerate about making it a personalized experience for you, and who's interested in improving their sex skills so that you can have a better time with them. Because I feel like there's always something that can be improved. And I feel like women tend to be a lot more socially conditioned to feel like we need to improve our blowjob skills or something.
Oh my.
Um, because I mean, in women's magazines, there are always so many tips and advice about how to please men. And
Yeah,
I feel like men are not as socially conditioned to spend time learning how to improve their sex skills as well.
not at all.
And yeah, I think this leads us on to non-negotiable number 6,
Yeah.
which is that, we don't want to be objectified.
Yeah. So tell them that you want them to respect you during sex.
Or just don't have sex with someone who doesn't respect you.
Yeah, exactly. So spot on. I mean, it seems like such an obvious thing, but a lot of the times we kind of forget about it. Like, your partner should value you as a whole person, not just for your body. So, if someone's more interested in your looks or your body than who you are or how you feel, then again, it's a red flag.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, having a good sexual experience comes down to mutual respect, and that includes respecting your boundaries and autonomy as a woman. So, if a guy is objectifying you or approaching sex with this very, misogynistic mindset, then it's just not worth it.
yeah, definitely. And, as we talked about in a previous point, it's important for men to care about your pleasure, but it has to be caring about your pleasure for you, not for themselves. Because, I feel like in porn and generally in popular culture, female pleasure is almost kind of fetishized as well. Like you said, female masturbation is kind of like a visual sex toy for men, right?
Right.
So you don't want to have sex with someone who does care about your pleasure, but just because they, want to objectify
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think our next point, which is non negotiable number 7, is related to this, which is that, emotional connection really matters.
It really matters.
If someone is objectifying you, then you can't really feel emotional connection with them anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think for women, it's really important that we can have a deep emotional connection with our partner for us to be able to enjoy sex, either like physically or, feeling sexually aroused. I feel like we can't do that as much unless we have emotional connection as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we are not talking about having that, like, super deep level of connection you might have with someone you've been with for a long time, like in a serious long term relationship. But I think it's more about having an emotional connection, at least in that moment. Like, the fact that they are actively trying to connect with you, like making
Yeah.
eye contact or making sure that you're having fun and focusing on your pleasure as well. Yeah, I think that's all part of emotional connection as well.
Yeah, just like someone who you feel like they care about you as you would want a friend to care about you, you know?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
definitely.
because I guess at the beginning of a relationship, like unless you've been together for like 5 years or something, it might be difficult to develop a really deep emotional connection. But even at the beginning of a relationship, you can still tell whether someone cares about you or not, right?
Yeah. And you'll just know right away anyway if this person is doing the right thing because you will actually just feel it, right? You'll feel comfortable saying stuff to the person, like, saying no or saying how you feel, saying what you want. And that's about emotional connection as well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's important to find someone you can have fun with as well, right?
Yeah.
And you can't have fun if you don't have your basic needs met first.
Yeah, definitely. So, our number 8 non negotiable is that post sex care should always be part of the experience.
Yeah.
I think post sex care is about showing that you value the person you just shared an intimate experience with. It doesn't have to be something, really complicated or something big. It could be cuddling, talking, checking in, or just, making sure your partner also had an orgasm. Those small gestures might seem really nothing, but they make a huge difference, especially for women.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But a lot of guys don't seem to care about their partner after sex. They just take off the condom, they just rush to the shower or pass out immediately. without even checking in. It's just as if their job is done. Like they are completely done once they've orgasmed. And this is just turned off.
And I think it's those kinds of small gestures that really change overall how you feel about the experience
Yeah.
and how you feel about yourself afterwards.
Right, exactly. So if your partner just rolls over and just falls asleep without saying a word or just doing anything afterwards, like it just really makes you feel used. Isn't that the worst?
Yeah.
So, yeah, post-sex care isn't just about physical gestures. It's about emotional safety. It's about feeling appreciated, connected afterward as well. So, if the experience leaves you feeling anything less, it's better to rethink it.
Yeah. And non-negotiable number 9 is that performance issues are not your fault. So, if something went wrong during sex because the guy wasn't able to perform, like if he had erectile dysfunction and couldn't get an erection, or if he lost his erection, or if he wasn't able to orgasm or something like that, then it shouldn't be your fault. And he shouldn't make you feel guilty about it or make you feel like it was your responsibility.
Right.
Because, as women, we don't make men feel guilty if we're not able to orgasm, right?
Right. It's so unfair.
I feel like a lot of women think it's their fault if they can't
Yeah.
orgasm, right? Whereas,
Yeah.
like, a lot of the times I feel like guys blame the woman for their performance issues.
Yeah, women tend to make it their own fault when guys don't orgasm. Like, am I not sexy enough? Or did I do my part? Something like that. But guys never think about that kind of thing.
No, never.
Never.
Yeah, and finally, non-negotiable number 10 is no sex is better than bad sex.
So true. Bad sex, whether it's because of poor communication or lack of effort or absence of emotional connection, bad sex isn't just worth that. Girls, masturbation exists for a reason. It's always a better option than settling for less than what we deserve, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, I think a lot of people actually do think that bad sex is better than no sex.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that brings us back to our non negotiable number 3, which was to never do it for the wrong reasons. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to reevaluate what reason you're having the sex for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, it could be that you're not doing it just for the pleasure of the experience, but for other reasons like validation and because of a toxic relationship dynamic and stuff like that. So it's really important to keep that in mind, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially in the West, there's this pressure that it's always better to have sex on a regular basis than having no sex at all or just
Yeah.
masturbating. Because I feel like it just gives validation as a functioning heterosexual.
Member of society.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like people think that you're weird or actually have some sort of, social problems if you're single for too long or don't have sex on a regular basis, I think. At least compared to Asian countries.
Yeah, it's almost like they think you're unemployed or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like having no job. So I feel like that social pressure is real.
Yeah, I think it's better to just like value and prioritize yourself
Mm-hmm.
and just do whatever you think feels right for you. And again, it might be just like another patriarchal societal norm because I feel like maybe for men, it's better for them to be having sex on a regular basis because, as we discussed previously, they don't really risk anything from it. And, maybe it's just better for them to do that. But I think for women, it probably isn't.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's hard to meet someone who meets all this criteria on our list.
But that doesn't mean we should lower our standards, right?
Yeah, definitely not. And it's good to, have a standard to aim towards.
Totally. And by setting standards, we are setting the tone for how we want to be treated. Not just when it comes to sex, but in all areas of relationships. So having the standards really empowers us to be who we are and to create experiences that actually mean something to us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So today We talked about 10 non negotiables for sex, and it's such an essential step to building trust and ensuring that your experiences align with your values. So remember, the right person will appreciate these conversations.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, let us know if we missed anything out on the list.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to our latest episode, and if you like that, please share with a friend.
We'd also really appreciate if you could rate and review our podcast. And please get in touch if you have any feedback.
We'll be back again with another episode next week.